Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another update on the Bleach 5e book. For this week, we have a small update and we're going to go through the changelog to see what we have new. So, the first one is pretty big, but not as big as I thought it was going to be, apparently. I changed the book title to Bleach 5e. There's a few already there was a few that thought that the book was already called Bleach 5e. However, the official title up until the change for the book was the Shinigami's Guide to, or the Shinigami's Handbook to the Soul Society, which I thought was kind of neat, but a little bit too long and very difficult to Google or search. So I decided to put up a poll on the community Discord for the book and get some feedback from the community. And most people stated that they already thought the book was called Bleach 5e. So to match that and to make it easier to search and increase the visibility of it with the shorter title, I have changed the book title to Bleach 5e. So that's the kind of biggest change overall to the book that I don't think is going to be that noticeable for most people. But the next change is the bulk of this update here. It's going to be the final Schrifts getting finished and added to the book. That's going to be Schrifts K, N, Q, V, W, W, Y, and Z. And of course, updated page numbers since some more pages were added to accommodate the new Schrifts. But that's really it for this changelog. As as you heard before, I'm still working on the armament rework, trying to get that done ASAP. And then once that's going to be a pretty big video once that comes out. So let's go over each individual Schrift that got added to the book. But before we move on, I do want to let everyone know to please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free and it helps out so much getting the numbers up and hopefully getting the channel monetized someday. That would be really cool. However, if you do want to support me even further, I do have a Patreon that you can subscribe to. I have quite a few different perks on here. Obviously, the captain tier being the most popular as it has the best perks, best bang for your buck. If you're not able to be a patron, that's fine. Liking the video, sharing it, and subscribing to the YouTube channel is much more than enough. Up on the screen here, as you can see, the current Patreons, and I want to give each and every one a heartfelt thank you for supporting me on this journey writing this book. Now, with that all out of the way, let's move on over to the updates. All right, everybody. So the first script we have here is K, the Knowledge. Now, I know we never got BG9's actual official letter, what it stood for or what it does. However, most of the community has come to an agreement that they pretty sure that it means K, the Knowledge, or something in that vein, since he does a lot of analyzing and a lot of kind of knowledge gathering. So this is going to be my take on that, and let's go through it. So as an action, you spend 10 SP and target a creature you can see within 5 feet that is either restrained, unconscious, or willing. You begin to concentrate and extract information from the creature. For each round you spend concentrating, you learn something new about the creature. First round, you learn which skills the creature is proficient with or has expertise with. Second round, you learn if the creature has any resistances or vulnerabilities. Third round, you learn which saving throws the creature is proficient in. Fourth round, you learn if the creature has any damage or condition immunities. Fifth round, any spell or ability the creature has used against you, you now have advantage on saving throws against those spells or abilities. Sixth round, you know all the spells the creature knows and has prepared, if any. Seventh round, you know exactly how many hit points the creature has remaining. So pretty powerful ability, I think, with the kind of knowledge you can grab from somebody. Though how much this can help you out in combat, maybe not so much, as what we've seen, it doesn't seem to be a very combat oriented Schrift, at least from what we've seen so far. So this is a lot more utility based. But let me know what you guys think about it. If there's any changes you want to see, if there's more information that should be gained, or having to use this maybe in combat. feel free to let me know. You can comment down below or head on over to the Discord and let me know on there as well. But that's it for K the Knowledge. Let me know what you guys think, and let's move on to the next one. Next up, we have N the Navigate from Robert Acutron. So here is another one that we never got anything official. However, we can infer a lot of, information from what we've seen in the anime. If anyone has seen that, I won't spoil anything, but we get some more information, more showcasing of potentially Robert Schrift, and that kind of helps me give me some direction and to go somewhere with this. Now with End the Navigate, a lot of people have said, the nimble, and a bunch of other ones similar to movement, because that's what we've seen him do, something movement based. And the Navigate, kind of coined, as far as I know, from Mr. Tomo, someone that I've been following as well, and he's great. So I'm gonna go with that, since that seems to be kind of what everyone, as far as I've seen online, seems to be agreeing to, and they think that's a really good name for it, of what potentially the Schrift could be named. So let's go through what End the Navigate does. Your high rank IQ increases by 30 feet. As an action, you spend 10 SP and choose a creature within 60 feet. You teleport to an unoccupied square adjacent to them and make a single attack roll against them. The target is considered surprised and you are considered hidden. So like we see in the manga, and then even better showcasing in the anime, we see Robert seem to kind of teleport almost instantaneously to a creature, and they don't seem to be aware of him. They all give like a shocked look of that he's like right there, point blank. Now a lot of people also, even including Mr. Tomo, stated that why would Robert try to be point blank all the time with someone when he has a gun, which is something you want to be ranged at, like mid to long ranged at. Well, it seems to be that it has to do with the Schrift, putting him at a close range and giving him some benefits for just catching someone off guard. So that's why when you make that attack roll, they're considered surprised and you're considered hidden. There are a few other, these things by themselves don't really do much, but it's when it's paired up with a bunch of other things where this can be something, really good. Now, additionally, with his ascended form, which would be his Volshandik, it's called Grimaniel, which I believe is Walk of God, Path of God. The translation is, I don't think it's ever completely accurate when they're translating it, but it's something along those lines. Now, only this Schrift has an ascended kind of form, which gets more benefits, because I want to try it out on this Schrift, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, what you think about it. I also want to go through each one if this seems to be something that everybody likes and wants to see moving forward. I'll update all the other Schrifts down the line for it, but I want to test it out on one Schrift right now. Because all of the Schrifts have like their own little name that we see in the animes. Now, with the naming scheme we got with quite a few Stern Ritter, we can kind of go through each other Schrift and kind of get a sense of what their name would be, and use that information to extrapolate other information. So, Grimaniel, while ascended, you gain the following benefits. If you would begin your turn with 0 high rank IQ, you regain 30 feet of it. You can take the dash action as a bonus action. When an attack roll is made against you, as a reaction, you can spend 10 SP to use high rank IQ, potentially dodging the attack. So just to keep more in line with the Navigate, this just makes you a lot more nimble, a lot more mobile. So kind of keep in line with what the Navigate is all about and kind of what we think this would be. So there's also another route of, while ascended, the Schrift itself gets better or evolves in a different method. There's also that route I can take. There's this route. So let me know what you guys think, what kind of routes you guys would see, what you think of it currently right now, or if you have any other ideas or any suggestions that you would think would be better. I'm open to any and all criticism regarding this and anything with the book. So that's it for the Schrift and the Navigate. Let me know what y'all think, and let's move on over to the next one. Next up, we have Cue the Question from Bernice. Now, this one is quite a esoteric kind of Schrift, as the explanation we get of how it works is pretty weird and a little difficult to grasp. So I tried my best. I don't feel like the wording and the language for it is that good, honestly, but this just my first take on it, and once I get some more feedback on it, I definitely gonna change this later on, but I think this is pretty good for the first attempt at this shrift. So let's give it a read. As an action, you target a creature you can see within 60 feet that can hear you. You choose an objection and they must make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail, they can't perform the objected action for the next hour. Only a single creature can be affected by a shrift at a time, and a creature can only be affected by a single objection. As a bonus action, you can end the effects of your shrift on a creature. So let's look at the objections that you can make. For 4 SP, you can object to a dash action, disengage action, dodge, help, ready, search. 6 SP, hide, use an object. 10 SP, cast a spell. 15 SP, use armament abilities. 20 SP, attack action. So far what we've only seen is when Bernice kind of objects to the killer instinct, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm like blinking out on it for Kenpachi. So that would mean I would assume that as to be like the attack action, So if he was able to, if Kenpachi was able to hear Bernice and fail a wisdom saving throw about the objection, kind of like think of like, oh man, start questioning his bloodlust, that he wouldn't be able to perform the action. Presumably they'd be able to do other stuff, just not whatever is being objected to. So that's what I'm trying to mimic here, and I think it's pretty good. So that's why I'm making it pretty decent one, because if you can make an attack action for like an hour, it's gotta be costed appropriately, as that's pretty strong ability. And as well, limiting it to only a single creature at a time, since this can I can see this getting out of hand really well. But that's the queue. I think it's pretty good. Let me know what you guys think, if this is something you guys like, or if there's any kind of changes or some other objections I should add on there. Anything, let me know down below in the comments or in the Discord. But that's it for Cue the Question. So let's move on over to the next one. Next up, we have a big shrift. This one is V the Visionary. Now, this is going to be a big block of text because of how crazy the ability is and all the crazy shenanigans you can do. So let's go through it. One of the most powerful Schrifts is rivaled by how dangerous and unwieldy it can be. By turning fantasy into reality, you create one of many effects with this Schrift. Some effects require concentration, and you can concentrate on a number of effects equal to your intelligence modifier. So let's look at what these effects are. Body Hardening. As a reaction when you are targeted by an attack roll, but before the results are revealed, you can spend 2 SP any number of times. For each time you do, your AC is increased by +1 for that attack. Spell Duplication. As an action, you duplicate any spell of 8th level or lower. You don't need to meet any requirements in that spell, including costly components. The spell simply takes effect after spending the appropriate SP cost. Retry. As an action, you undo a single recent event by forcing a reroll of any roll made within the last round, including your last turn. Reality reshapes itself to accommodate the new result. For example, the Schrift could undo an opponent's successful save, a foe's critical hit, or a friend's failed save. You can force a reroll to be made with advantage or disadvantage, and you can choose whether to use the reroll or the original roll. Item Creation. As an action, you create one object of up to 25,000 gold in value that isn't a magic item. The object can be no more than 300 feet in any dimension, and it appears in an unoccupied space you can see on the ground. Resistance. One target creature that you can see gains resistance to a damage type you choose while you concentrate. Healing. One target creature that you can see regains all hit points, and you end all effects on them as described in the Greater Restoration spell. Immunity. One target creature that you can see gains immunity to a single spell or other magical effect while you concentrate. Life Creation. As an action, you can either create a copy of yourself with the same statistics as you at the time of creation, or you can summon a creature of any CR not exceeding your hit die, or you can create another creature as per player character creation rules approved by your GM with a level equal to yours minus your proficiency bonus. As an action, you can dismiss the created creature. You might be able to achieve something beyond the scope of the above examples. The GM has great latitude in ruling what occurs in such an instance. The greater the imagination, the greater the likelihood that something goes wrong. This ability might simply fail. The effect you desire might only be partially achieved, or you might suffer some unforeseen consequence as a result of what you imagined. Conscious Control. As this Schrift requires constant and precise control Losing control while concentrating on your Shrift can be dangerous, and thus you can suffer from any of the following drawbacks. If a creature lands a critical strike on you or you lose concentration from an attack roll, that creature has advantage on attack rolls against you for 1 round. If you lose concentration because of a spell or another magical effect, you have disadvantage on saving throws from spells or other magical effects cast from that creature for 1 round. When you have half of your hit points remaining, you have disadvantage on concentration checks. So that is quite a big one. Let's break this down part by part. So first of all, for those that are really D&D savvy, such as other GMs, you might notice that this seems to be very similar to the Wish spell, which it is. A lot of it is kind of derived from that, since that seems to be the closest thing in D&D we have to something like the Visionary, be able to just kind of do random OP crazy stuff. So that's kind of what it's based off of, obviously with some changes to better suit what the Visionary does. Now, things that we see Grimmy do, the biggest thing that people are gonna, kind of come to mind is summoning the big meteor. Now that can easily be done with the spell duplication or by something different, as stated right here in this little section of choosing something else that's not on here. That's where I think it's going to come from. Body hardening, obviously we see that during the fight with Kenpachi, making his body, as hard as steel, and then, Kenpachi, breaking through it because, not, if you can cut, it's like, okay, if your body's steel, then I'll just, match my strength to be stronger than steel, as I was in the manga. So that kind of helps that, because you kind of, I wanted to make it someone use this ability before the results are rolled, because you are imagining you can be stronger to this, but you're not sure, you've never been hit by them before, presumably. So, like the first time, you're just gonna not imagine the correct kind of strength, or you'll overdo it. But once you've found someone multiple times, then you kind of get an idea of how strong they would be, and how much you're going to be doing this. Spell duplication, just something that, like I said earlier, retry, kind of warping reality is what he's able to do. Item creation, something we haven't really seen. All these other ones, healing, we definitely seen him do. And then of course, the life creation one. Now, for the GMs, I would suggest if any of your players has this and wants to use any of these, you need to make sure they have these characters or monsters prepared. Players, help your DM out, or your GM, Dungeon Master, Game Master, whichever one you guys use. Help them out, because they are a player as much as you are. So you need to make sure you are not putting a lot of undue burden on them, as they are already, sculpting this fantastic, presumably fantastic campaign with NPCs, with all these, events that happen, keeping track of a bunch of stuff. They don't need to be keeping track of this as well. So this is something, with the, something that we see Grammy do. He makes a copy of himself during the battle with the Kenpachi, makes the other Shrimuru, which he's already forgot their name. That's how unimportant they were. Cool Shrift though. But yeah, so if you want to do something like that. So a lot of things on here is, I think, what we see the Visionary do, and it kind of matches all that. Even though it's gigantic in scope, but with something crazy, with ability like that, it's, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get a big old Shrift like that. But I think that's it for the Visionary. Let me know what you guys think. Any changes that need to be made to it, maybe needs to be nerfed a little bit more. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear it. Go on in the comment section below and let me know. But that's it for the Visionary. So let's move on over to the next one. All right, next up is we have Y, the Yourself with the twins. So as an action, you spend 20 SP and target one creature you can see within 60 feet. You transform into the exact physical likeness of the targeted creature and choose one of the additional effects. You remain transformed until you are unconscious, die, or end the transformation as an action. Below, the two options are: you gain all memories and personality of this individual, flawlessly impersonating the target, or you replicate the spiritual power and abilities of this individual. Your statistics are replaced with that of the creature. So this is something that I think is quite neat. I know since there's, what was it, Royd and Lloyd, right? That's their names. Yeah. They are kind of twins. So the Shrift is kind of split between the two. So obviously in this case, just kind of combining it so it's all into one Shrift. So it kind of makes more sense and easier to handle for a single, person. So yeah, I think this is pretty neat. Not too difficult, but honestly, secretly one of the most powerful, as you can either choose the first one and just perfectly impersonate someone, you gain the memories, and you can just in a normal like kind of D&D setting, that alone you can just decimate kingdoms, decimate continents with just becoming the right people and doing the right things. Like that's something just utility wise insane, and I would love to have any GMs that have their players use this to let me know how it goes with the first one. And then the second one is a lot more combat oriented, where you go up against some creature and you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna battle them, and it's gonna be like a little mirror match. I think that's really cool, as well as then it kind of allows a player to kind of get a hold of a stat block and play as something they normally wouldn't ever be able to do. So that this is also something that GMs need to be a little careful of, because if you're fighting a monster, then when the player gets a hold of the stat block, they're going to see kind of the HP and all that stuff, kind of things. So maybe work with your player to let them know, like, hey, keep it to yourself of how powerful this really is or how weak it is, and some of the HP and stuff, some of that, work with your player to, let's not let the rest know, but you can kind of give hints to the players, so just not to, kind of spoil the fun of the whole fight. But that's why the yourself, pretty neat, I think. Let me know what you guys all think. But that's it. Let's move on over to the next one. Finally, the last shrift that's been finished, Z, the zombie that Giselle has. This one is also quite a big shrift, as it does a lot of stuff. Just to kind of lay out the foundation of what you can really do with this shrift as well, kind of takes up a lot of space. So let's go over it. As an action, you spend 10 SP and lose 2 HP any number of times to target a living, non-Quincy creature you can see within 10 feet and splash them with your blood. They must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failure, they gain a zombie stack for each 2 HP you lost. On a success, they gain half as many zombie stacks. Alternatively, you can target an unconscious or deceased creature and they are not allowed to save. Notice, the only requirement is they're unconscious or deceased creatures. So this means they can also target the Quincy, as we've seen Giselle stated. Additionally, when a creature within 5 feet of you deals damage to you for each 2 HP you lost, they gain a zombie stack. When a creature gains a number of zombie stacks equal to their hit die, they become a corpse falling under your control. They gain the undead creature type in addition to their other types. Additionally, if a deceased creature becomes a corpse, they have disadvantage on d20 rolls and all forms of movement are reduced by 10 feet. Corpses retain their personality and memories. When a creature becomes a corpse, they regain half their hit points. While the corpse is under your control, you can issue commands to the creature while you are conscious, no action required, which it does its best to obey. You can specify a simple and general course of action, such as attack the creature, run over there, fetch the object, or harm yourself. If the corpse completes the order and doesn't receive further direction from you, it does nothing. You can use your action to take total and precise control of the corpse. Until the end of your next turn, the corpse takes only the actions you choose and doesn't do anything that you don't allow it to do. During this time, you can also cause the corpse to use a reaction, but this requires you to use your own reaction as well. If the corpse was not a deceased creature when it became a corpse, whenever you issue it a command or action, it can make a wisdom saving throw, ignoring any instructions from you for 1 round. While you are controlling a corpse, you gain the following benefits. You don't die outright from massive damage. If you would reach 0 HP, you don't fall unconscious. You have an advantage on death saving throws. As an action, you can reduce a corpse's maximum hit points by any amount and regain that many hit points. As an action, you can remove a limb from a corpse to regenerate a missing limb from another willing creature you can see within 5 feet. Whew. Big shrift, lots of text, lots of words. Let's go and break it down one at a time. So, as we see within the manga and even the anime now as well, is, depending on how much blood, Giselle loses, it affects different people with stronger Reiatsu. So, obviously, the more hit points loss is going to be needed to affect someone stronger. So that's mimicked here by how many hit points you lose. For every 2 HP, it's going to be a zombie stack, or half as much if they make the save throw. And as stated, when someone's unconscious or deceased, you can take over them, which is what we see. They're taking over Quincy's when Giselle normally can't, as she states, unless they're already dead. I also added in unconscious because it just makes it easier, because since they're already unconscious, and she kind of has a time to sit there and kind of pump a bunch of blood into them and take over them. At least I would assume so. So I have that in there as well. Let's see. So they gain the undead creature type just to kind of match with them being a corpse, or they're dead. This mainly is going to help with other kind of abilities that affect undead that come up. For those reasons, really, that's why they gain the undead, creature type. And then additionally, if a deceased creature becomes a corpse, they have disadvantage on d20 rolls and all forms of movement. As we can see, when Giselle states, when she reanimates, dead people, they seem to be, a little not as great as they were when they're alive, because they were already dead. However, if they were alive, then they're, fresh cells, so they retain a lot of their, combat prowess. So that kind of mimics that as well. And then, of course, I just want to add that in the corpses retain their personality memories, just to make sure, as that's stated also within, that they retain this, their personality and stuff. Obviously, when they become a corpse, they regain hit points, so they can, be used in combat, by the user. This here, you guys seen similar to kind of Elder Love, fairly similar, a little bit different. But kind of in the same vein of being controlled. This kind of seems to be the standard of like controlling another creature within D&D 5e. So anything comes up for other GMs, little hint, if there's anything with controlling, you want to use this kind of wording, because this seems to be the standard wording for controlling creatures. That's basically it. The biggest thing is, being able to have the creature harm itself. Like, that's the biggest thing when it comes to this ability. That's different to all of the other ones. Most other effects, charm effects, or controlling creatures, you can't have them harm themselves, or it'll break the effect, or you just can't do it. But this one is something you can do. So this is like a big deal here. I think this here is like huge. But that's that. Let's see what else here. So the very final benefits you get while you're controlling a corpse. This is something kind of that we see and stated that Giselle kind of has. It almost makes it seem like she's pseudo immortal as long as she's controlling, while her Shrift is active. These are all things we've seen her, traits we've seen her, have. So whether it's from the Shrift itself, from maybe her or something, we don't really know, but it's stated, and we can also assume that these abilities and these kind of things she has is from the Shrift. As we can see, when she gets kind of like almost cut in half, she doesn't die. That kind of mimics, not dying from massive damage, not falling unconscious when you're 0 HP. To clarify as well, when you fall to 0 HP, you are considered dying. Like, you're still dying. You still got to make death saving throws. So this just means, if whoever has this, they just don't fall unconscious, but they're still considered dying. They're still bleeding out. So that doesn't change that. You're just aware. But obviously, because of the zombie, you have advantage on the death saving throws. And, being able to, consume part of a corpse to gain, hit points, as we see Giselle do. And then obviously here, the very last one, when she regenerates the limb for the other Stern Ritter, taking limbs off another corpse to be able to do that. But that's it, everyone. That's the final Shrift. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, or heading on over to the Discord. I'd love to hear what you guys think about all of the Shrifts, any of them, any changes that need to be made to them. Some of them need to be buffed, some need to be nerfed. If anyone has already have some games going, trying out these Shrifts, let me know. I would love to hear about that from everybody. I want to hear everyone's experiences and, make any changes and adjustments according to those. So that's it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for being part of another update. As stated before, if you could subscribe, that would be fantastic. That would help me out so much. I want to get up as high as I can in subscriber count to get this channel monetized and get this out to as many people as possible. As well as, if you want to help me out, there's also a Patreon that you can subscribe to. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for being part of this journey and being here with me, and hopefully I'll see you all with me at the very end. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night.